What is up, everybody? Today we are here to talk about Game 4, the Sixers versus the Hawks in the 2021 NBA playoffs. Sixers take the L to the Hawks, 103-100. Listen, tough game for both teams. No one's making any shots tonight. Just all around ugly basketball tonight. But Hawks squeak it out. I'm here with my people, my boys, at Mr. Crockpot Dibes and Tiago at T Scabia on Twitter, and myself, obviously. Man, just a brutal, brutal loss and a brutal, brutal game in general, I like to say. So, Dibes, overall, what are your thoughts, man? What are you thinking tonight?
Pissed off, man. I've been pissed off. It was the true tale of two halves in this game, where you had a Sixers 17-3 run there in the first half. Everything was clicking. Ben, Joel, and Tobias were 9 of 13 in that first half, and then boom, they just look like they got their heads cut off there in that second half, led by Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris, who shot 3 of 18 in that second half. Joel Embiid was 0 of 12 in the second half. Just go 1 of 12, and this is a completely different conversation we're having right now. That was a great play call they had at the end. Embiid missed the layup. He carried us all year long. Him, Tobias, we had the 5th best net in clutch situations all year long. Joel was playing with his head so far up his ass tonight. He was clearly exhausted. He got some boards. But, man, I think there is real conversation for Doc that you put the ball in his hands there at that moment, because that dude had no legs. Every shot hit the front of the rim. You saw it repeatedly in that fourth quarter. It was a really tough game to watch.
Yeah, Tiago, what are your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I mean, 38 points in the second half, right? That is about as bad as it's going to get with the Sixers offensively. Joel didn't hit a bucket all half. He was not good offensively. You know, if it was the leg, the knees, I don't know what it was. I think when Embiid is at his best, he's usually attacking the rim off the dribble, and you didn't see much of that tonight, especially in the second half. So that's a little bit concerning. But we saw a glimpse of what this team is with when Embiid can't get going offensively. And the question I have is, who takes the shot if it's not going to be Embiid? I mean, really, that's the question, because if Tobias is not on, like he wasn't really on in the second half tonight, there's really not much else, man. And Seth Curry, he had a good game. Yeah, it would have been probably the obvious choice there to take that shot. But, just not a good Ben Simmons game offensively, scoring-wise, just very, very quiet again. It was tough because I thought that the game and the series was pretty much locked down in that second half. I thought Atlanta was ready to pack it in, and give them credit. They played well defensively. I thought that it was their best defensive game of the series, and it's something the Sixers are going to have to consider for the next game because they really balled out in that second half.
That definitely the biggest thing you saw in the second half was Atlanta really just taking it to them defensively. John Collins did play a lot better defensively. I heard it on the announcer. The announcers talking about it a lot. The lineup with Clint Capella, Gallinari, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, and Trae Young seemed to be the best lineup for the Hawks tonight. So did you guys see anything specifically that Atlanta was doing defensively in the second half that really, really faulted the Sixers offense?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, go ahead, Chris. No, go ahead, Chris. You saw it. Go ahead.
For me, it comes to points in the paint for the Sixers. The Sixers bit themselves in the ass in this game. They had 28 points in the paint in the first half, 34 points, 6 points in the paint in the second half. That is inexcusable. So that's what I saw. The Sixers, got away from their game. It became like this frantic kind of offense. The Hawks were going up and down the court. The Sixers had no idea what they wanted to do offensively. It was truly just pass, and whoever just shot it the last 6 seconds. We haven't seen that in quite some time. The Sixers offensively have been an efficiency machine. Tonight, I don't know what just got in their heads. They were clearly tired, led by Joel Embiid. Tobias has to be that guy that steps up in that situation, and we didn't see it there. Like I said, 3 of 18 from Ben, Joel, and Tobias. Our big three led the way in the first half. They just dropped the ball here in the second.
Yeah, so a couple of things on that because I think Chris touched on it, and I also saw a few more things. So one of the things that they did is they went away from John Collins at center lineups with backups. They went specifically with Okongwu in the first half, and I thought that made it harder for the Sixers to get in the paint. If you notice, they had a couple of blocks in the first half. They really kind of set their interior presence. In Game 3, John Collins at center was a disaster, like an absolute disaster. Those lineups were atrocious for Atlanta. I thought that was number one. I thought that the Sixers went away from like motion. So again, in the first half, like a lot of backdoor cutting, a lot of cuts, like easy looks at the rim, and you just saw none of that in the second half, man. And that's something that the Sixers offense has a tendency of doing. We talked a lot about this during the regular season. Like they go stagnant, and when they go stagnant, it's pretty bad. And the third thing I thought was the fact that they couldn't get stops. So no stops, no turnovers created. You're not getting out in transition. You're not getting those quick transition 3 points that they got in the first half. So I think those three things really contributed to why the Sixers offense was just really, really bad in the second half, man.
Something that I really noticed tonight, and people may not completely understand it because obviously Danny Green has not scored at a high level in this series, but something that he has done is been really, really smart with the ball and assisting other guys. Whether it be when they're passing around the horn or whether it be him getting the ball to Embiid in the post at a good spot and not turn the ball over. A lot of times, and especially early in this game, you saw just bad turnovers where we would have Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid pinned down next to the rim, and we couldn't get the ball to them in time, or we'd throw it out of bounds. So it seemed like a lot of the silly turnovers that you saw in Game 1 that were coming back up tonight. And I think some of that could have to do with Danny Green not being in the lineup. But to move on to talking about just in general the offense of both teams, neither team really shot well tonight. Atlanta, with the win, shot 36.6% from the field. Philadelphia shot 43.5% from the field. Philly shot 40% from three, and Atlanta shot 30% from three. So
here's the thing, though. Atlanta took 16 more shots. And why do you think that was? That was John Collins on the offensive glass, man.
Yep.
The Sixers could not keep him off the offensive glass. It was a poor performance in the second half around the paint defensively. And that's something I have to autocorrect because one thing John Collins does do is play with energy, man. And you got to match that energy. He's not like that skilled of an offensive player. He's a good shooter, but he doesn't do much else. And you got to match that energy, man. And they did not do that in the second half.
Well, I will say, I think towards the end of the fourth, they matched the energy a little bit more with him. They did get Atlanta to turn the ball over a lot towards the end of the game and didn't give them any easy shots for the end of the game. The real issue was Sixers offense struggled a ton at the end of the game as well. I know, Dibes, I think you said before about Tobias Harris needing to step up in that moment. I agree with you, but I think as well, he also, just like Joel, was shorting shots a lot from the mid-range and just didn't seem to have any lift, just like Embiid. And I think they started to turn to other things. Furkan hit a big three at one point. Seth Curry was hot for a while this game. Honestly, Seth almost hit that shot at the end. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but he barely hit that out the back rim. Like,
not enough credit can go to the Hawks players outside of Trae Young, who's just a bitch, man. I'm so tired of Trae Young. All the dude does is cry. Justin Timberlake literally made a song out of him because of Trae Young. I just can't take. He's the new Aaron Baines. He's the hate the face. I'm tired. He just whines and whines.
So I will say Trae Young's stat line real quick before you get talking about him. 40 minutes, 25 points, 18 assists, which was obviously that's really good. But he shot 8 of 26 from the field with 25 points, 1 steal, 3 for 11 from behind the arc, and 6 for 8 from the line, a +7 on the night. So
I want to give credit to the Hawks players outside of Trae Young because they showed up. They absolutely 100% showed up, whereas the Sixers players outside of the big three did not. That's another big difference in the game. The other takeaway I just want to quickly mention is the Sixers starters in this second half. This is the first time since the first half of Game 1 that we've seen the Sixers starters get outclassed. Joel Embiid, Seth Curry were a plus 16 in the first half. They were a 0 in this game. I think Seth Curry was a 4. Ben Simmons was a plus 15, ended up with a 0 in this game. That is definitely something I don't know. I don't necessarily think we should worry about, but this is the first time that the Sixers starters, the Hawks gave it to them. They punched them in the face a little bit, and we need to give them credit.
Which is really disappointing because I thought that bench lineup to start the fourth quarter played Atlanta pretty even. And if I'm not mistaken, once the starters got back into the game, it was a tie ball game or the Sixers were really up 2 points. Bottom line is, man, they were set up to win that game. We get the starters back in, one possession game. You gotta bring that home, man. And they were very disappointing offensively tonight.
There were so many times when it was almost kind of the same vibe as game one, where the Hawks tried to build momentum, but the Sixers always seemed to have a response. Every time the Hawks tried something, you had Tobias Harris ISO over Kevin Huerter. You had a dunk, then that led to a Ben Simmons alley-oop and a Furkan Korkmaz jumper. You had that Matisse Thybulle steal that led to a three-pointer on the other end in that third quarter. Like, there were times and opportunities for the Sixers, even though the second half was absolutely dreadful. There were times that the Sixers could have blown this game away, and they just let the Hawks hang.
And that's the thing, Chris. I thought that they went away from what works. Kevin Huerter, man, is a 0 on defense. Bogdanovich, just zeros on defense. Trae Young, I mean, it's easy. But they kept going away from those matchups in critical moments of the game. I thought that, when you needed a bucket, you got Tobias on Kevin Huerter. It's kind of an easy bucket. I thought that there wasn't enough of that in the second half. And to what you brought up earlier in the podcast, Justin, some of those high-low passes to Ben with Trae Young in the post, that's got to be a dunk, man. They missed him twice. I mean, you can't.
I think what they were trying to do was, and you saw it later in the game, you've seen it earlier in the series, is they try to get the ball above the rim where only those two big guys can get it and just go right up with it. You've seen Ben Simmons do it a few times this series. So I just honestly think, and this is where I was saying about the difference of a Furkan Korkmaz passing that or a Seth Curry passing that or a Danny Green. And Danny Green has done a really, really good job with those kinds of passes. I'm not saying that that's an excuse as to why they shouldn't be able to get that done in the first place. They should still be able to get that done with Danny Green out. He just has been the guy that's been doing that more consistently throughout this season.
I mean, Trae Young is 4 feet tall. It shouldn't be that hard. Just throw it up there.
No, I don't disagree.
Simmons is 6'10", man. Come on now. Yeah.
So Carson Baker, our in-house Atlanta Hawks fan, wants me to put, I'm assuming, this comment up there saying Trae Young deserves as much credit as Embiid as they both run their respective heliocentric offenses. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Hey, man. I like I like Trae, man. I like Trae. I'm not gonna lie. I think the diva stuff. Any star has that, man. The guy's trying to do the best that he can to help his team win the game. He's 95% at offense. You got to do whatever it takes, man. I'm not a Trae hater. It is annoying to watch him dive and then complain at Embiid fouling. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
The only thing I don't like about Trae's game, and it's hard to say it because obviously Joel gets ticky-tack fouls on him all the time, but the difference that I see in Joel's are that it's when he's at the rim, getting actually guarded, taking a shot, rather than Trae Young just bumping into bumping into somebody when it's not even a James Harden thing or a LeBron thing where they move their arms into somebody else's arms when they're at the rim. It's literally, I'm gonna 15 feet away from the basket and just jump into you. When the defender's not even out of position, the defender's not even really out of position either. I can appreciate a smart play where there's a guy running up on your back and you do a quick stop and they run into you. I can appreciate a smart IQ play in that way. But the thing that I don't like is just when an offensive player just jumps into somebody and then gets a call. I hate that.
Yeah, but bottom line is the guy had 18 assists. The Sixers need to figure out a way to close that up. You can't.
Well, the way they closed it up before was playing good defense on the shooters, and tonight they just did. Mind you, it's not like the Hawks shooters shot a super high percentage tonight. Like I said before, the Atlanta Hawks shot 30% from 3 tonight. the biggest difference was from the mid-range. Bogdanovich, although he didn't hit a lot of shots, was 9 of 24 and hit some pretty big shots in the moments, was 4 for 13 from 3, and Kevin Huerter was 2 of 5 from 3. There was just shots where they were rotating the ball, where they were just shooting over Seth Curry.
Yep.
Instead of when Danny Green might be there being able to get a better contest on shots. At least that's from the differences that I saw tonight.
Yep.
Was Danny Green made a big difference for me when it came to defending 3-pointers from the other team.
No, and it goes to the whole first half versus second half, tale of two halves. The Sixers did an excellent job in the first half of keeping Trae Young out of the middle of the paint. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen in the second half. And then you get that Trae Young where he goes to the rim and did Joel Embiid touch Trae Young? What were your thoughts on that foul call?
He got him. But it was after. Yeah, no, he definitely got him. He definitely got him. The difference is Joel went up to block the ball, and when he swiped for the ball, missed it, and came down right on Trae Young's head. That nappy hair he got up there, he came down right up on it. But I understood the call. The only thing I didn't get, it was after the play. The ball was already up there. The Trae was already on the ground. That's more of a loose ball foul than it is an actual I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't want to waste any more breath on Trae.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain.
Okay, so what do you guys have outside of Trae Young, outside of the I don't know. It's hard to talk about this game because realistically, nobody I think you can give Seth Curry credit in the first half. You can give Joel Embiid credit in the first half. Ben Simmons, I think, played pretty well tonight overall, and but it's just
zero field goal attempts in the second half, bro.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, you need more offensive from Ben, man. And I think part of it, now we talked about Ben a million times in this podcast. It's repeating.
Before we get into he needs to do more in the second half, though. In the first half, it's just kind of how other games have gone.
But here's the thing, Justin.
One second. Let me finish my thought quick. Ben Simmons, a lot of times when other people are hot, he gets the ball to them, right? So it seemed like everybody was hot in the first half, so he's trying to get it to everybody else. That's at least what I saw. But I agree with you in the sense that he needs to be more I don't know, dude. It's pissed me off.
But here's the thing, they don't run offense through Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons in this offense is a glorified screener. He hands the ball off and he screens and he sits in the corner. That is unacceptable from a coach and from a player. That guy should be doing more in your offense than setting a screen and sitting in the corner. He's your best shot creator. He's the guy who can get downhill, collapse the defense, and create all types of shooting lanes for your shooters and Embiid and whatnot. And they have just doubled down on Ben Simmons being a screener in this offense, and it's absolutely asinine. Now, that's the coaching part of it. The player part of it is that when you're by the rim and when you're shooting free throws, you got to knock it down, man. The guy's free throw shooting this series has been embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. And yes, 60% is okay to deal with. He's not even close to that in the postseason. We try to defend Ben around, his scoring, his ability to play and make. And I think part of the free throws gets a little bit overblown because I do think around 55, 60% is okay in the NBA. But you can't be shooting 30%, man. You just can't. You gotta gotta get that under control and get some easy points in your offense. So we make excuses for Ben. I think a huge part of it is coaching. And I guess we said this before a million times. You gotta own the offensive end of your game, man. You have to own it. And again, we're not asking you to be a corner 3-point shooter. Shoot free throws, dunk the ball, get easy layups. That's all you gotta do, man.
And I'm a guy who loves Ben Simmons. No
we
doubt.
Love Ben Simmons.
We all do.
Absolutely, we all love Ben Simmons.
I've been getting quote tweeted on Twitter nonstop these last few minutes. It's crazy. But guys, Ben Simmons, we have to call him out when it happens. Ben Simmons in the second half, 3 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. That is not good enough. So that is absolutely pathetic.
And it's not. And the coaching, they have to enable him. You got to put the ball in his hands and be like they did in the third quarter of the last game. They came out and ran 4 or 5 plays through Ben Simmons. That's got to be your offense in certain moments of the game. You can't just be like, Ben, hand the ball off, screen, watch the offense, try to get an offensive rebound. I'm sorry, man. Like this gotta be the player and the coaching. Right now, it's not synchronized offensively.
Do you think part of the problem or part of the reason why they were running the offense the way they were was because of the personnel that the Hawks ended up using throughout the end of the game? Obviously, they talked about this during the broadcast, but the Hawks and Nate McMillan seem to have found a lineup that works well against Sixers, where it's the bigger lineup with Danilo Gallinari, John Collins, and Capella. Do you think part of that is why Ben Simmons' aggression went down, is because of the bigger guys that were down in the paint? Because it seemed like in earlier games in the series, Ben was eating up the more forward-sized guys like Herter, Bogdanovich, and at times Gallinari. But other than that, John Collins, he hasn't really been going at as often.
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think that what Doc Rivers says to the media is completely disconnected with how he uses Ben Simmons in the offense. He glows about Ben Simmons' offensive playmaking skills and ability to create three-point shots. But then, like I said, he puts him in the corner setting screens. So it's disconnected with what Doc Rivers preaches to the media. And I think the most important thing is the fact that the coaching staff and Doc Rivers, have kind of boxed Ben Simmons in as this like ultra, unworldly defensive player, which he is, and kind of excuse the offensive part of his game, in particular the scoring part of his game. Like everything has to come together, man. He can't just be like an all-world defensive player and not contribute offensively on the score sheet. So I think they've kind of coddled him a little bit from the standpoint of like being able to contribute offensively. And I think in moments like this, man, again, we're not asking you to pull up from three. It's like spread the court, attack defender in space. That play, he can make that play, man. And if you get fouled, guess what? You got to go to the line and make your free throws. So yeah, I just think it's part of it's just the coaching, the way they've kind of boxed him into this role of like a defensive player, kind of Swiss Army knife kind of player.
So I feel like this is a little too much. Patronus here says Sixers are mentally weak. Joel and Ben, huge disappointment in the second half. Like, yes, there's a disappointment, but you got to remember, guys, this is one game. It's a 7-game series. Obviously, it's not fun being down 2-2, but this is a great comment by Austin Wells here. 2-2, it is what it is. No moral victory in the playoffs. We got to expect a tough game at home too. Like, here's the thing. It's 2-2. You're going back to Wells Fargo. You stole a game from Atlanta at their place just like they stole a game from ours.
The biggest concern I have with this performance is 34 freaking points in the paint. Do you know what the Sixers were averaging heading into Game 4? 58.9. Nearly 60 points per game in the paint. Number 1 in the NBA. Does that not scream that Joel Embiid didn't have it tonight? So, that's my – I don't know if it's a concern or what, because Joel Embiid had a few days rest to get ready for Game 4. I don't know if there's a bigger concern in play right now, but the fact that they got outscored 40 to 34 points in the paint when the bread and butter of the Sixers has always been points in the paint, get to the free throw line. It didn't happen, especially in that second half. I just don't know what happened regarding Doc, and they just got away from what worked in the first half. Like you guys said, I think the Sixers beat themselves way more than the Hawks beat them tonight.
Yeah, I don't see this as like a prelude of what's to come in this series at all. I think Atlanta manned up, but like they had to. They were kind of getting embarrassed in this series a little bit.
They were getting embarrassed in the first half.
They were getting embarrassed the first half. They got embarrassed in the second game. They got embarrassed in the third game. And I think it was part of their competitive spirit just coming out at home and not wanting to go down like that. I don't foresee that type of performance by Atlanta in Philadelphia. That place is going to be wild. I expect the Sixers to come out and assert that defensive presence. I thought the Sixers defensively were really poor in the second half. I don't see that happening at all in game number 5. But it's unfortunate because, you're thinking like you pull up 3-1, maybe you can kind of rest Embiid and try to close out at home and give Embiid like a long layoff until the next series. But now you're going to probably play into Friday and hopefully not Sunday. So, yeah, missed opportunity, but by no means is like an indication what's to come.
So, question. This comment I think is pretty interesting. So Embiid didn't get to the foul line 15 times tonight like he has in the last 2 games. So Embiid got to the foul line 8 times tonight. to you guys, did you notice a difference between where Embiid was taking his shots in comparison to where he typically does? Like did it seem like he was shying away from going to the paint as often as he did before?
100%. Oh my goodness. 100. Like there was a point in the game where I was looking at the shot chart and he didn't take a single field goal attempt inside 15 feet. All of his touches were outside of there. That's not the recipe for success for Joel Embiid, who leads the league in post touches, leads the league in that and getting to the free throw line. So like I said, the Sixers got away from what has made them so successful this season. And it's just like the first half of game one, I just want to beat my head against the wall. I'm like, what changed? What happened? Yeah. Other than tired legs, let's hope it's just tired legs and not something more serious.
I mean, granted, 8 free throws is still a lot of free throws, right? Compared to
but in comparison to what he's been getting, it shows a difference in how he played the game. And considering that it's not like their roster changed or our offense really changed that much. Like he typically is, it's a winning formula. Is him getting into the paint and getting fouled.
But you saw it, you saw him mentally. You saw him just beaten up. You saw him checked out. You saw him flailing and looking for fouls. That he does that. He does that a lot, but not so much to this degree that we saw, especially in that fourth quarter, where he didn't got it. He just didn't have it tonight, and he was trying to get whatever he could. So it was just so tough.
So overall, do you guys have any closing points or any other random thoughts about this game?
I mean, I want to see what Game 5 looks like. I expect the Sixers to come out and punch him in the mouth at home, but you can't have Trae Young running around there with 18 assists, 20-some points. You just can't have that. He's the main source of their offense, and I thought the Sixers kind of really lost themselves defensively in that second half. I was pleasantly surprised with Shake Milton once again, and I think you got to give him a lot of credit because this is a guy that we have practically rolled out of the postseason. I mean, this guy now, 2 of the last 3 games, has some huge shots for this team. So can he be that piece moving forward? George Hill's playing. Oh my God. George Hill's been awful, dude. Absolutely awful. It's been really, really bad. And, the Sixers need some type of ball handling from that second unit. And, Shake has been that guy. I thought Korkmaz was okay. He had some big shots like he usually does. Defensively played well, but he has his Korkmaz moments as well. So, it was a disappointing effort, man, at the end of the game. I thought this was going to pull this out and kind of bring it home to close it out. So we'll wait on Wednesday.
No, just to piggyback off what Petronius said, and that's a really good comment, is the Sixers only had 2 steals in this game. 2 steals. They're beyond I think number 1 in the playoffs right now in generating steals and deflections. So just like we just said continuously, it's just – this wasn't Sixers brand of basketball that we're used to. It is something that we saw in game 1 of the first half. I just don't know why the light bulb turned off there in this second half.
Yeah, I think my closing thoughts on this game is I think Furkan and Shake Milton both came out in this game and played really well in comparison to how they've done in past series. Cody, if anyone else could see that comment, you're crazy.
Post it out, man. Some people are just lost tonight, man. It's what are we watching?
Sixers are done, man. Listen, that's some people. Some people are gonna think that, some people aren't, but that's just how it is. But listen, guys, Sixers got to come back at home at the Wells Fargo Center and show the Hawks what kind of game they really got, because tonight just was not it. All around, not a great game, not a great look. But we move on. It's just one game.
On, man.
One game. Got to get to
the road, man. The road to the championship. It's long, it's winding.
Yes, sir. Guys, we really appreciate y'all coming out and watching. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We got about 60-some people in here, so if you have not already, please drop a like on the video. Follow, subscribe if you have not already. We're here every game after the game for post games and some as pre games as well. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Go follow us on all the Painted Lines accounts on every different social media platform. Check us out on there. Also, go follow us, our personal accounts, at Mr. Crockpot on Twitter, at T Scabia on Twitter, and mine over here, I can't point, it's mirrored, at J_Persichetti. We'd really appreciate it. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Like we said, drop a like, and we will see you Wednesday night. Peace.